Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from. I'm Rachel Rudwall, and I have the honor and the joy of joining you today in celebration of World Refugee Day. I see there are already 5 of you on. You are quick, and I admire you, and I thank you for joining. Today, I, Rachel Rudwall, have the pleasure and the honor of celebrating World Refugee Day with you. As many of you already know, yesterday was World Refugee Day 2021. Today we continue the celebration, and we have a really incredible individual that we have the chance to talk to live. So I'm excited to chat with Chantale really shortly. In the meantime, you probably know, if you're following USA for UNHCR, that refugees are people who have been forced to flee their homes due to war, violence, or persecution. And they have overcome unsurmountable odds to get where they are today, wherever that is. Today we're coming to you to celebrate these refugees, to highlight them in their own voices. Some of these people have become leaders in their communities as they've resettled. Many have become advocates for displaced populations and marginalized peoples. Other refugees are the people that you wave to when you walk down the street in the morning to go to work, to bring your kid to school, maybe to get a cup of coffee. So whoever and wherever these refugees are, they have done so much to end up where they are. And I'm really, really thankful and excited that you're here with me today to celebrate and to uplift refugee voices. Over the course of the last 2 weeks, I don't know if you've seen it, but USA for UNHCR has shared the stories of 5 amazing young resettled refugees across the United States. I highly, highly encourage you to take a look at these stories in case you haven't seen them yet. There's a highlight on USA for UNHCR's page. It's called Refugee Voices. And each one of these stories is accompanied by an absolutely incredible illustration from an artist named Malia Abidi. She was hoping to join us today, but unfortunately, Malia got pulled away at the last minute. Regardless, you can check out her beautiful work, these illustrations accompanying the stories of these refugee storytellers in their own words. They're also all across social. And so if you're on the Twitter, if you're on the Facebook, you can see all of this work across the USA for UNHCR page on that respective platform. For those of you who've just joined, I'm Rachel Rudwall, and I have the distinct pleasure and honor of joining you in celebration of refugee voices and stories in honor of World Refugee Day 2021, which was yesterday. Woohoo! Joining us today, we have a spectacularly powerful individual, Chantale Zuzi. I will be inviting her to join us in just a sec, but you know what? I think I should probably share a little of her bio first because she's very impressive. And I also have a feeling that she's somebody who has enough humility that I don't want to embarrass her by just talking about how great she is while she's on the live. So Chantale is 20 years old, and she spent her first 13 years in the Democratic Republic of Congo. She's one of 10 children, the oldest girl, and Chantale fled her home country when her parents were massacred. After years in a refugee camp in Uganda and Kenya, Chantale immigrated 3 years ago to the United States. She's now living in Massachusetts. She's a motivational speaker. She's a strong advocate for human rights. Chantale Zuzi is somebody who has worked as a senior fellow with an organization called Refugee. It's an S-H-E. Assisting with fellow refugees and young women. She has worked with refugee girls in a safe house in Kenya, where she spent time, and also worked with many young refugees worldwide. Chantale, who we're going to be inviting to join us, likes to write, and she likes to tell stories. And that's how, of course, we end up here today. You might have seen her story highlighted by USA for UNHCR. She likes to spend time with her family in her spare time. And she has overcome a life of so much challenge and loss that it's really incredible to see her resilient spirit on display and all of the amazing work that she does. We're crossing our fingers that it goes through okay. One of the things that I have had the pleasure of learning while we wait for Chantale to join us is that, hi Chantale.
Hi.
I was just saying lots of good things about you. I didn't quite want to put you on the spot by saying all the nice things while you were already on. But one of the things that I've learned about you in just the last couple of weeks is you have a sparkle about you. You bring so much light into the spaces that you inhabit that it's a treat to be able to share that with people today who are tuning in. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's really a privilege to be here.
Yeah, it's such a treat. For those who are just joining, this is Chantale Zuzi. She is one of the storytellers that USA for UNHCR is highlighting in honor of World Refugee Day. I'm Rachel Rudwall and have the honor of chatting with Chantale today for this special holiday. So I know Chantale, and now we have the privilege of telling other folks who are tuning in that you have just graduated, right? You graduated high school, you're going to college. Graduation is a huge achievement. Can you tell us when you graduated and where you're headed?
Yes, I just graduated on June, it was June 9th when I graduated, and I'm heading to college. So I'm gonna go to Wellesley College this fall. For those of you who don't know, Wellesley College is a women's college, a little bit outside Boston, Massachusetts. Education, going to college, but I really would have never believed seeing myself, going to college actually. So it's just really a real big achievement for me. Yeah.
And while you were sharing this huge achievement, which is big for anyone ever, and it's really incredible that you already know where you're going to school. There were people who were commenting on how amazing you are in the comments below, Chantale. So I'm glad that people are already seeing the sparkle that you bring and the amazing accomplishments that you're offering the world. You have overcome so much to get to the point where you are today. What would you like to share with people about your background, about how you got to where you are today?
Well, it's a bit long story, but I've been through so much. I grew up, first of all, I can talk a little bit about my background, where I grew up. So I was born in the Republic Democratic of Congo in Africa. That's where I was born, and it was really bit difficult for my parents because I was born in a place where people with albinism were viewed as outcasts and someone who should not live, and those bodies good only for sacrificial purposes. And the only reason I survived was because my parents believed that I had the right to live. So growing up was a bit challenging with really a lot of negativity from people and the fear of losing my life at any moment. So I never took my breath for granted. Growing up, going to school, I really remember that I had, because of my condition, cutaneous albinism, the back of my eyes do not have enough pigment, so which was really difficult for me to see, and I did not grow up with. And for students with limited vision, but my mother always encouraged me to, pursue my education. She did not have such an opportunity to go to school, so she always tried her best to encourage me. When I was 13 years old, I lost both my parents. in a massacre that's happened in my village. And this painful event really changed my life because I was 13 years old and then I had to take care of my siblings. I didn't mention, so I came from a family of 10 children. It's really a lot, 5 girls and 5 boys. So I am like in the middle, the sixth born. And I had that responsibility of taking care of my siblings while my parents were no longer there to protect us and to take care of us. Then because of the insecurity of people with albinism in the Congo, my family and I had to flee from our country to Uganda in a refugee camp that is Rwanda. Living in the camp was not easy. It was difficult to get water to drink or wash with, food to eat. I'll try to find a better place to sleep, always wondering if I will be safe. So my life in the camp was not the best, but I learned to never take anything for granted and always, appreciate what I have. And also, I did not have school. So I always dreamed of going back to school and really, it just really was one of the priorities in my life. And then I had to flee again from Uganda to Kenya, this time all alone without my family. And I was 16. Arriving in Kenya, I was taken care of an organization called Refugee, where I really met other girls to whom we have similar situations. Then I lived there for another 2 years. Then I got resettled to the United States, and here's where I am right now. I live in Massachusetts, Holden, and go to school. And that is like a brief of my story.
The amount that you have experienced, the amount that you've overcome, the amount that you've also found resilience through experiencing is incredible. I know that everyone listening is inspired and amazed by who you are and what you have brought to the places around you through your mentorship, through taking care of your siblings. One of the things that I have found interesting to learn about you, if I can bring it into the conversation, is how beautiful it is that you've continued prioritizing education, even when with some vision difficulty, that has been hard for you. And as you've come to the United States, you've had more of an opportunity to find learning that works for you, education that works for you, right?
Exactly. Yeah. When I came to the United States, I went to school and I thought it would have been the same, like, going to school, just listening and not taking notes because I couldn't see. But my school really provided me with a lot of accommodations, and now I was able to, be independent, like taking my own notes, and it just felt really great to work independently. And I thought like, wow, I was that smart. I thought I was just really, when I don't do well in school before, I felt like it was my fault, but it wasn't my fault. It was the lack of accessibility. And once I got access to all my notes and my books, I was able to maintain an A average and graduate in high honor. Yeah.
That's incredible. For those who have just joined us recently, we are speaking with Chantale Zuzi, who's telling us of all of the trials and tribulations of her life up to this point, and the incredible things that she's achieved in education in the US. Chantale is a refugee storyteller who's featured in the last 2 weeks worth of beautiful content that UNHCR is highlighting. So check out the Refugee Voices highlight on the USA for UNHCR page. You can hear more stories like Chantale's, also see really incredible illustrations from an artist and activist named Malia Abidi. And so you'll see a really beautiful illustration that was done of Chantale. Chantale, you're going to college next. what else is in the cards for you? What do you have planned? What are you hoping for?
Well, I have a lot in my plans. I'm going to college, but I'm actually going to major in international relations because as I want to work with the United Nations, and this is my area of major, international relations. I am writing my book, so this is going to be my autobiography. I'm writing my story, and I would really love for people to learn from my journey and to give hope for those who are going through the same situation. I also am starting my new NGO as well that is gonna support young women and refugees back in the refugee camp. I have a lot in my plate actually, but those are really, really important ones that I am working on. Yeah.
That's amazing. I think that so many people feel like life is busy enough as a student or going to work each day. So the amount of things that you are taking on and embracing is very inspiring. I feel like maybe you have 25 hours in a day and the rest of us have 24. I'm really inspired by the work that you're doing with other young women who are refugees. If you had some advice that you could share with us that you give to young women who are refugees, what would that be?
For young women who are refugees, I mean, my advice will be, don't ever give up on your dreams. Always, the night can be too long, but the morning will always must come. Like one day you'll find the light in your life, and it's just really, you are resilient and to experience all what you have experienced, and all those experiences make you who you are. And I think it's just really important to have a dream and have something to look forward to, because that will help you to keep on going. I did have a dream. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to work with the United Nations, and all these dreams helped me to focus and really not giving up on myself and on my life. I just really kept on going because of the dream that I had. So I will really, really encourage you to dream bigger and not dream small. And also just really know that, you know, all those experienced you have experienced, all those bad and good experience make you who you are, and be proud of yourself. Yeah.
So beautiful. And I think that that's really amazing advice for World Refugee Day in general, for anybody who's tuning in and whatever they've been through, particularly considering that the last year has been really difficult globally. So keeping in mind that having a dream is central to keeping you going, that whatever you've experienced makes you who you are, including the difficulties. And the way that you put it was really lovely, which was that even when the night is dark, the morning will come. So I think the way that you've expressed that is really brilliant.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's really, really, it's really sad that some people think negatively about refugees, and like, just, they're coming to our country, they're taking over our jobs. I mean, I feel like most people do not understand like where really refugees come from and why they're here. And just, and sometimes they don't understand who are refugees. I think it's really, really important for people to understand that refugees are regular people, ordinary people, just like you and I. The only distinction is that they have been through various circumstances that have, come to define their lives. And these are events that they did not ask to be part of, but they were forced into, and somehow they survived. So, they have fled their home, they have left everything behind, and losing loved ones behind, like, family members. And and now find themselves in a host country, in a brand new country, and trying to build their own lives and trying to build their, families and back home countries. So I think it's really, really important to understand where refugees come from, sit with them, listen to their stories in order for you to judge who they are and why they're here.
Absolutely, perfectly said. The thing that I have seen that people don't understand about refugees is that refugees are people who've been forced to flee their homes. And nobody wants to leave behind family or the things that they've achieved, built, loved. But refugees have been forced to flee due to violence or persecution or war. And the more people that understand that, hopefully the more people feel open-hearted to having those conversations that you're talking about, human to human, where you can see that refugees are people just like every other person that you've met in your life. They've been forced to leave home. They've endured tremendous difficulties, and they're here now working to build a better life and a better world, a better future. That is something that whoever you are, whatever background you've come from, you can relate to the desire to build a better life for the people around you, the people that you love. And so the more that we are open to having those conversations, to inviting learning, to asking people about themselves and about what they love, the more opportunity we have to come together as a society and be welcoming to refugees as the contributors that they are to our communities, including you. And I think that the people who are tuning in, if anybody has just tuned in, today we have the privilege and the honor of talking to Chantale Zuzi in honor of World Refugee Day. I'm Rachel Rudwall, and I'm just fortunate enough to get to be here and kind of soak up all of the inspiration and the storytelling. Chantale, while we have you, I'm wondering, do you have any advice for others who are looking to get involved in their own communities in refugee issues, resettlement, or support?
Yes, I mean, it's really, really important. Refugees need a lot of support, especially some of those who are actually in host countries, like some of them who are here in America. And, being new to the country, it's a lot to learn. And if they get all those support in there is a lot of culture shock. There is a lot of unknown, and just to navigate the whole system. Like, how do I get a job? How do I, get to my appointment? And I really think it's a lot of orientation needed, and a lot of support that is needed. But if you could, help your community in in different way, you can even educate your community. If you do understand more about refugees, you can also educate your community about, hey, this is why refugees are here, this is who they are, and this is the way we can support them. And I think it's really, really important to work together and support one another in many small areas. I mean, nobody would ever think that when I came to the United States, I needed a lot of help in many ways. These are just things that I didn't know, and they were like culture shock to me. You have to go to the hospital for an appointment, or you need to make an appointment. I'm like, okay, we never had to make an appointment in my own country. You just go to the hospital because you're sick. And you have to be on time when you go for a job interview or stuff like that. So I'm like, I'm always late, because in my country, when it's 5, if you have an appointment at 5, just expect to be there at 6:30 or something. So all those small areas I didn't really, really understand. And refugees need a lot of help in, like, driving. They need to get their driving lesson. You can even volunteer to be like, hey, I can help you to, like, get your lesson driving. I can, and there are ways. Another way you can help, there is, when refugees come here, they need a lot of help with setting their apartments, like just helping them to get to one place to the other, like they have appointments. So there is many ways you can get involved in your community and supporting refugees. Yeah.
And that's really beautiful to hear too, because I'm sure that the people tuning in all have different things that they could or would like to offer. So maybe somebody can offer language assistance, somebody can talk through different cultural norms so that there's less cultural shock. Maybe somebody knows how to navigate the transit or transportation system in their city, or can offer a ride to an appointment. Those are all different types of offerings that people who are tuning in can make, which is really lovely to offer up to them, because sometimes people wonder, how can I help? I'm just me. And you've given a really great list, and you've gotten a lot of hearts popping up in the sidebar because of all of your great ideas. And I just want to point that out, that you're offering a lot, and people are sending thanks to Chantale for your offerings. I am going to say thank you for joining us today. I'm aware of your time and everybody's time who's tuning in. It has been an absolute honor to talk to you and to hear your story, and to get a bit of that inspiration from you, kind of just absorb it. If anybody wants to follow up on Chantale's story, it's going to be one of the refugee voices that is in the highlights on USA for UNHCR's page. But Chantale, thank you so much for joining us today for a live conversation. Anybody who hasn't yet followed up on those refugee voices, you can hear 4 more individuals' incredible stories as well. Those stories are accompanied by gorgeous illustrations by artist and activist Malia Abidi. So all of these incredible stories in honor of World Refugee Day, you can find on USA for UNHCR's social channels and the Refugee Highlights, Refugee Voices highlight. If you're interested in learning more about refugees and finding out how you can help, like we've been discussing, then there are a ton of resources on USA for UNHCR's website, which is www.unrefugees.org. So thank you again, Chantale. Thank you to
Thank you
everybody
so
who
much.
tuned in.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me here. It's really a privilege to be here. And everyone, hello. And thank you so much for being here and listening to our story. Thank you.
it's an honor. Thank you.